Hi everyone, this is GeoWill from Laughman Productions Squared, and I'm here today to start off our Common Insurrection Developers video series segment, or first segment of our Common Insurrection Developers vlog series. But what we're going to do today is actually going to take a look at how stuff is made in XSI. It's also known as Softimage now that Autodesk bought them out, but I still refer to it as XSI. As most of you probably know, XSI is a modeling program. It's used by a lot of gaming companies, including Valve, to build models and characters and stuff like that to use in their games. Today we're going to be building rebuilding the, they can bugger off. We're going to be rebuilding the archway thing for the hotel in City 25. If you remember from the last update that we put out, that I had mentioned that I had done it but then it wouldn't compile correctly because there was an error or something like that. Well, we're going to be remaking it today. I think what happened is where the error came from was from importing the VMF file. I'm not sure why that caused an error, but I think it did. Because that's really the only difference between that model I was working on and other ones I made in the past. So today I'm just going to be working right from scratch. The Valve developers wiki claims that 1 unit of XSI's grid is the same as 1 unit in Hammer. So I'm going to be going based on that assumption, and we're going to be using those dimensions from the map. So the first thing you want to do when you go in to make a model is you want to think about the general use for it. You know, is it going to be something that's going to be used? Like a door, is it going to be able to open and close, or is it going to be stationary, something static? That's just for decoration. You also have to think about, in terms with Source SDK, since you only have a 128 bone limit, you have to think about if it's going to move or it's going to be animated, how to break the model up in case there's going to be too many bones. Because at certain points during different modeling processes, there will come a point to where a merging that you do between some of the things will become permanent. So you have to think ahead about that. That screwed me over on the second cinematic physics collapse test that I did. That was in the update before last month's update, or last cycle's update. I mentioned that I hadn't broken it up, and so I couldn't export it because I had something like 1,600 bones according to Source, even though it was really only 800 and something bones. But Source takes each cube that you have, or each object you have, and each bone, and counts it as a bone itself. So, but that's just something to keep in mind. The other thing you have to think about is what you want it to look like. The general shape of the model, the size, obviously, and the texturing. I famously suck at texturing, so I'm going to try and not quite suck as bad for this video. But for some reason I just don't get texturing at all. I always epically suck at it. So, we're going to go ahead and start off by making the base of the floor, just so we have some sort of reference from the map, and we're not just operating on something that's imagined, if you will. So what we need to first do is we need to switch over to Model, Primitive, and then Polygon Mesh, and Cube. That creates a cube here. So if I was to export this into, or import this into XSI, or rather into Source, as is, it would be this big. zoom out a bit here, but it would be in this type of scale, apparently. But in XSI you have different tools. This is the movement tool. You can move it along any axis. You have the rotate tool. Again, you can rotate along any axis. The scaling tool, which you can use to scale on all axes. You can do it only on 2 axes, or axes, I guess, actually be the more correct term for it. See if I can get that to go properly. Well, you can, but probably it's not wanting to play. But you can go on single axes as well. Then you might have seen me drop into the this mode here. This is when you push S. By the way, for movement, it's V, C is rotate, and X is for scaling, Z is for zoom, and S is this tool, which allows you to rotate the camera or move it around. You can zoom in and out, move it around, which you can do also in this mode. But the zoom in S is different than the zoom here. The zoom in S is actually more of it's more like a traditional zoom where you zoom in and it kind of changes the perspective a bit as far as where the camera's looking. Whereas this zoom tool, I guess they both behave the same. I thought they were a little bit different. If you do weird things in this mode, though, it actually will greatly affect how things look in this camera view for some reason. And you have to reset the view for it. It might happen while we're doing this, but anyway. Since we're going 1-to-1, we need a surface that is 18, or let me see, maybe not 18, but didn't get how thick it was supposed to be. Ignore. So 11 units thick. Alright. 11 units thick, 120 wide, and the length would be 1,718 units. So we need to apply those to this. And so what we're going to do is we're going to try and figure out how we can do this here. Let's see. Alt-Enter brings up the properties. Let's have a look. Scaling, position, rotation, scaling. What I'm looking for is the actual sizes. So right now the cube length is 8. I see. So it's doing the cube thingy here. So let's change this to 11. And then what we'll do is bring this around, bring this out. So I guess this means that this is 11 units in width, or maybe it's depth, this way. Height, I guess, is what it would be. So essentially, if we zoom out a bit more, we'll have a better. So this is more like what it would look like if we just imported it right now. What we want to do is we want to stretch this out a bit. The question becomes, though, is how do we bring up a ruler or some way of telling the exact size? Let's see, XSI, typo. We want to look up units. Maybe unit markings. Show units. Or displaying units. Is that the typo? how to see how to play craps. Interesting. How to display units in XSI. Well, apparently there's no easy way to figure that out, so let's look at the transform options here. Let's see. So this is going to be the... So this is scale, rotation, and I guess position. But I want to see what the actual values on the... Wow, that's interesting. The actual sizes of this stuff is. Let's see, grid, cameras, frame rate, attributes, display, camera output, cones, visibility options, cameras, view, layouts, optional panels. Maybe, let me see, how to see XSI. Alt 5. Let's see what Alt 5 does. That's all this is? That sucks. Cam icon and respective viewport, toolbar drop down, visual cues, select ruler. Let's see, so go to the cam icon. Then what? Cam icon, drop down menu, properties, visual cues. Okay, properties. Properties, visual cues. Ruler. Okay, there we go. Alright, so that's how that little spot looks like from where it's at. Interesting. So essentially each one of these squares is a unit, so it's like working in Hammer's editor. So it helps a lot actually, having those markings there. Even if they're not, aren't any number things run on here, except it doesn't snap to, well maybe we could make it snap to grid. Let's see. Edit. I tried to make it snap to grid once before and I don't think it actually did what it was supposed to do, or it didn't do it in the way that I thought it would do it. XSI snap. Grid snapping XSI. Visibility options, cues. Alright, so visual cues, really it's the exact same section there. Interesting. Let's see. Setup. Visual cues. Actually, we're already right there. Floor grid size setup. Snap to size 1. Let's change that to 10 to see what happens here. So, now if you want to change just one section of a particular model, what you want to do is you want to go over to point. Or you can do edges or polygons. Either way, but if you go to point, you can select the edge points. And you can manipulate those any way that you want to. See, it's not snapping to grid the way you think it should be. Let's see. Snap on to grid. Okay, there we go. That's what we want to see. Snap to grid. Alright. Perfect. So what we want to do now is we want to set this on 0. And you can push space to select the entire model. V. I'm going to put this on 0. Well, first we want to get the other edge points on the grid as well. Oops. Alright. Done. And whoa. And there you can see just kind of how crazy you can get with this stuff. Just moving it around like that. If you're not careful with what you're doing. Thankfully there is the undo feature. Alright, so now we got our thing all centered up properly, and now we're going to move it onto the 0 line and pretty much line it up in the middle as well of that. Alright, so let's also move this down so that we're on 0, 0 for the edge there. So what we said was that this was going to be looking at the top now, so we're looking at it from the perspective where it would be 20 and then 120, and then the other direction would be the longer one. So we want to go to 120. We can't actually technically see, like if I go this way, well, I guess we can't see. Never mind. We have to get in the general vicinity though. So we want to go to point, and we want to take these edge points here and move it down this way. Kind of towards around where 120 would be, according to this scale here. I'm going to zoom in, and we can see actually we hit it right on the head. Wow. Awesome. So if we zoom out here, this is how long the actual surface is in Hammer. So I want to now go the other direction and go the ungodly length of 1718. So again, we got the points. We select these points. We go with V, and we extend it. So maybe right about, I'm going to say here. So now we come back over here, start zooming in. So you can see we're not quite there yet, so we'll go back to point and keep going a bit more. And when you only have one arrow selected, you can't move it in other directions except for the directions that the arrow is pointed in or is opposite to. So we can only go up and down here, but not side to side. But if you have both of them selected here, you can do everything really. So that's not really what you want to do. That's interesting. I've never seen that orange before. So we'll zoom in, and as you can see, we're way over now. We want 18, which is going to be just behind the 120 mark there. So if we zoom in a ways, and there we have it at 18. So now we have the total length and width of our platform from hammer. I guess the width, the depth would play a part in it too, so we want to go to a side view. Front, I guess. Let's add the ruler to all of these. Actually, we should set them both to 10. It's kind of a fail right there. We'll go and we won't put the ruler on here because it's not based on the grid really. Now let's go ahead and center this on our view here. Let's see. You actually do want V this time. Alright, let's see. Essentially we just want to try and get the center of this to cover the center of the work area, which is this little box right here, which is that grid from earlier. It should be about right. So now we want to go to the front view. Right now we're at about, looks about maybe 10 units in the depth here, and we want to actually fix this because it's not on the grid. So we want to put it on the grid so that we can move it correctly. Alright, what we want to do now is to select the entire thing and to first get over here so we can get centered on this particular space here. And then to move this down and put it on the 0 marker. Let's move it up and put it on the positive one now, instead of the negative. And let's have a look where we're actually at 12, so we're 1 over. That doesn't really matter though. Actually, yes it does, I guess. Because there is stuff that's going to be interacting with off the side and stuff with the stairs that go off the side. I actually have it marked down from the first 299 length units on both sides where we're going to be putting stairs at on one side of this model, so that it will interact properly with the map over here on Hammer. And actually I didn't grab one particular very important piece of information, which was the width of the stairs that are coming off the side. So it'll determine the actual width of the section here that comes off the main archway. And since these are all the same on all four of these, or actually eight of these stairs, don't have to worry about getting the sizes for each one. So what we need is to grab this and look at the top view. So 159 units, starting at the 299 mark. So let's go ahead, and I'm actually marking, I have a notebook out here that I mark stuff in when I'm working on models or in Hammer, even just to kind of visualize and note various lengths and sizes and stuff like that. So the length, or rather the width of it, is 159 units, and the length is 139 units, or 132. And those all come in handy. I guess we should also do the height as well. Let's see, so in total we have 100 units in height that are used. From the top edge of the thing to the bottom, so 100. Okay. So essentially what I'm planning to do is to do 4 stakes, or 4 bars down each side of this, and we need to figure out if that's actually going to be possible. So, calculator, 159 divided by 4. So no, it's not. Let's go